The Old Man and the Sea, part 13. Before it was really light, he had his baits out and was drifting with the current. Remember that when you drift, you let the current take you, like a plastic bag drifting through the wind. One bait was down 40 fathoms. The second was at 75, and the third and fourth were down in the blue water at 100 and 125 fathoms. Keep in mind, people, that fathom is a unit of distance you use to measure things, right? 40 fathoms is 73 meters. 75 fathoms, 135 meters. 100 fathoms, 182 meters. Okay, because one fathom is 1.82 meters. And then where's the other one? 125 fathoms is 228 meters, right? I think it's not so hard to remember fathom, the number, because imagine it's like a very tall person. So 182 is a nice way to remember it. Each bait hung head down with the shank of the hook inside the bait fish, tied and sewed solid. And all the projecting parts of the hook, the curve and the point, was covered with fresh sardines. Well, so keep in mind, people, and yes, you pronounce like that, S-E-W, you pronounce sew, okay? So sewed is when you use stitches and with, a line and a needle to close something. Okay, this part is kind of hard to understand, A nice exercise for you is to try to understand it before I explain and I show it to you visually. So maybe stop the video and try as a challenge, right? Let me read until the end of it, and then we'll try to get the image. And then we'll realize, guys, how common it is for us to have a very big challenge when it comes to visual image. That's why, guys, again, I think Google image is so important, right? And then you have the questions in Quizlet down here in the description with lots of pictures to help you out there. Okay, so again, the hard part of this. Each bait hung head down with the shank of the hook inside the bait fish, tied and sewed solid, and all the projecting parts of the hook, the curve and the point, was covered with fresh sardines. Each sardine was hooked through both eyes so that they made a half garland on the projecting steel. There was no part of the hook that a great fish could feel which was not sweet smelling and good tasting. Okay, to understand this, we have to take a look at the parts of the hook, okay? And here I have made a drawing. I really hope you can see it, guys. But basically you have a hook here, right? And here it is the space where you are going to insert the line, okay? So it's called the eye of the hook, right? So you have also the eye of a needle. I think there is a passage in the Bible. Jesus says that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to get into the kingdom of heaven, right? So here we have the eye of the needle, the hook, and then you have the shank, okay? Keep in mind, shank is the vocabulary used here in the book. We have the bend, which is this specific part. This specific part here. This part here is the throat, and then we have the point of the hook. But if you get a hook, guys, you'll see that there is a little protuberance here, so that the fish won't come out. If you have ever, I think when I was like 7 years old, I hooked my finger, and if you have done that, you know how painful it is to get it out, because it's not just like, imagine you pierce your finger with a knife, so you just take it out, right? Because of this little thing here called a barb. So imagine your finger comes here, right? And then this barb is like fixed inside of your skin, so there is a whole wiggling until you can actually get the hook out. Okay, so that's our hook. By the way, you guys, looking at this, we realize that there is a universe of words we don't know. And when you get to know those words, you also get to know that universe, the universe of a fisherman, For us, it looks like how useful it is, like parts of a hook. But keep in mind, if you work with that, and your life is that, it's very important, If you're a good fisherman, probably, you have to know the specific gap. You have to know if the bend is not, different from what you would expect, so there are those minor questions. And that, guys, also teaches us on the importance of learning words and not just thinking it's an obscure part, so I'm just going to read through it, right? Because it's just by learning things like this that we can really dive in their lives. And remember, literature is one of the functions of literature is this one, right? So you have to look at a hook through the eyes of a fisherman if you're reading a book about a fisherman, okay? Okay, so now we have our hook ready there. Let's see if we can understand, using my incredible ability in drawing, let's see if we can understand and picture what the old man did to the hook. So imagine it was a very big hook. We are fishing for a great fish like marlin. Okay, so each bait, so the bait is the fish, okay, hung head down with the shank of the hook inside the bait fish. So here we have, I'm going to erase the names, okay? So short review as I erase them. This is the shank, gone. This is the bend, gone. This is, I think it's, I won't get my hands so dirty. This is the throat, gone. This is the point, the whole thing, right? Gone. This distance here is called the gap, gone. And then we have barb is gone. By the way, guys, we can connect this barb with barbed wire. You used to make fences to protect a farm. Okay, so our fish is, let's see, each bait hung head down, so this is the head of the fish. I really don't know how to draw, but this is a beautiful fish, and not the best fish ever, right? But it's important that it's head down, tied and sewed solid. Okay, so probably he opened the fish, put the fish here head down, and then he not only tied with a line around the fish, but also sewed the part he had to cut, or something like that, or one part that was cut. We don't know exactly the process he used. So this is our fish, all right? Okay, that's nice. In all the projecting part of the hook, because there's still some hook here, maybe I should change the color, right? I should be, yeah, so I will change from red to red. So this is the fish here, and you know, it was sewed, okay, but you still have some of the hook here. We have the projecting part, right? The curve and the point, so we're just calling it curve now, and the point, was covered with fresh sardines, right? Each sardine was hooked through both eyes so that, and then we're going to continue. So imagine there is a little sardine here, and then there's the eye of the sardine. Another sardine, another one, another one, another one, another one, another one, and if it's possible, another one here, okay? Look at how beautiful image we're going to get. Guys, garland, imagine it's Christmas time, there is that kind of circle, you know, that is made of plant, something to make it beautiful, some flowers, you know, that you hang on your door, that's a garland, okay? So these sardines here form a half garland, okay? So both eyes, so that they made a half garland on the projecting steel. I have already covered our projecting steel with a lot of sardines, right? There was no part of the hook that a great fish could feel which was not sweet smelling and good tasting, all right? The fish would see something incredible. It would see like a big fish, you know, connected with a lot of smaller fish just floating in the ocean. And if you were a fish, you would look at that and say, wow, I've never seen something like that in my life. It must be a blessing from the godfish or something like that, okay? Guys, I know it takes time, but it's necessary to do something like that. So my advice is stop the video, read the same paragraph again, and make sure you have all of it internalized. The boy had given him 2 fresh small tunas, or albacores, which hung on the 2 deepest lines, like plummets. And on the other, he had a big blue runner and a yellow jack that had been used before. Blue runner, yellow jack, we're talking about 2 kinds of fish. Take a look at Quizlet, you have pictures of them. If you don't want to do so, take a look at Google Images, you will find. Albacore, of course, is just a way of saying tuna. The book itself tells us that, right? But they were in good condition still and had the excellent sardines to give them scent and attractiveness. Each line as thick around as a pencil, okay? As thick around as a pencil, was looped. This is a loop. Okay, this is a loop. Some roller coasters, you know, they go in a loop. Was looped into the green sapped stick so that any pull or touch on the bait would make the stick dip. And each line had 2 40 fathoms coils, which could be made fast to the other spare coils, so that, if it were necessary, a fish could take out over 300 fathoms of line, okay? 300 fathoms of line, we're talking about more than half a kilometer of line, okay? 548 meters. Okay, I have, guys, to explain some things, and then again we have to go back to the same part, okay? Green sapped stick will be pretty hard to understand just by dictionary, okay? Sap is that kind of substance trees have inside, you know? Green sapped stick. So imagine you get a stick from the tree. It's not dry, so if you throw it in the water, it won't sink. All right. So it's still green and it has sap around, right? So apparently the old man was using that stick as a float. Okay. Remember, down there we have the beautiful hooks with the baits, and up here floating on the water, okay, we have this stick. So if a fish pulled the bait down there, you know, the stick would dip, all right, and the old man would be able to see it. Okay, so let's try it one more time and let's see if it's completely clear now. The boy had given him 2 fresh small tunas, or albacores, which hung on the 2 deepest lines, like plummets. A plummet is a metal thing you put in the line so it will go down, right? Plummet is also, there is a device, basically the device has a heavy metal thing here and a rope, okay? And you can put it in a wall while you are making it to see if it is in the correct angle, if it's not, you know, inclined. Okay. Once more, I promise it's the last time. The boy had given him 2 fresh small tunas or albacores, which hung on the 2 deepest lines like plummets. And on the others, he had a big blue runner and a yellow jack that had been used before. But they were in good condition still, and had the excellent sardines to give them scent and attractiveness. Each line, as thick around as a big pencil, was looped onto a green sapped stick, so that any pull or touch on the bait would make the stick dip, and each line had 40 fathoms coils. We saw in a previous video, 40 fathom coils, which could be made fast, you know, tied, which could be tied to the other spare coils, like a spare tire in your car. It's an extra tire, spare coils, so that if it were necessary, a fish could take out over 300 fathoms of line.